much. Good afternoon once again from Seneca College, Creative Advertising Program in Toronto. We're delighted to host another Seneca Ask session here with our group of panelists. I'm going to turn it over to Mehdi to introduce himself. He was the brains behind creating Seneca Asks, and then we'll have introductions and brief bios from each of our guests. So Mehdi, thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. So my name is Mehdi Molasani, and I am about to graduate from the Creative Advertising Program. Well, because my internship is part of my graduation, so I'm heading to Strawberry Frog in New York to do my internship there. I'm currently in Boston, and Matthew Lee, who is here, is second semester creative advertising student, also, and who's been helping me out in Toronto to get this event going. So we really appreciate his help, and thanks to the panelists for coming on.
Excellent. So George, why don't we start off with you with a little brief intro and bio on why you're here joining us today.
I was hoping you wouldn't call me first. I'm George Tannenbaum. I'm an executive creative director at RGA. Dates back to Derek Torres has been going for the Olympics. And I've worked at a couple dozen agencies, and I'm a copywriter by training.
Excellent. To your right.
Is that me?
That would be you.
Oh, okay.
Camera right?
Sorry.
Or?
I guess it's his right, my left. So I'm Ezra Engelbardt. I'm a senior brand planner at SapientNitro in Boston. I've been in the business for, I don't know, actually at an agency for like 5 or 6 years now. I was at Digitas for about 4 years here in Boston. George, I have to admit, I stalked you out on LinkedIn, and I missed you by like 5-6 months.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah. So I have an advertising degree from the University of Colorado. After that, I did a whole bunch of really random stuff, like working for a fly fishing travel magazine startup and a company that did ads on golf carts. And I went back to school and did an MBA. And then while I was there, I learned about account planning and figured out that's what I wanted to do. So I started at Digitas. I did a lot of work on Sara Lee and their whole portfolio of brands like Jimmy Dean and Hillshire Farm. And then I went on to P&G, where I did a bunch of consumer packaged goods on Crest White Strips and Glide Dental Floss, Oral-B toothbrushes, Tide, Downy, Bounce, the whole laundry category. I worked on Aflac and got into the B2B stuff and insurance. And then I left to go to SapientNitro, who sort of, as they're growing rapidly, decided they wanted to start having a brand planning department in the Boston office. And so I've been helping them create one for the last year or so. Yeah, I work on a whole wide range of things. Lately it's been Ram Trucks, Webster Bank, which is a regional bank out of Connecticut, Lens Crafters. I worked on the pitch for Bertucci's, which is a regional pizza place that we won recently. Yeah, Lens Crafters, Sunglass Hut, so a whole kind of wide range of stuff.
Thank you. Did we lose connection?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, there we are. Now it's your turn.
To who, me?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, my name's Liz. I'm an associate creative director, art director at CHIAT here in LA on Nissan. Before that, I was at Crispin for several years in Boulder, Colorado, working on Microsoft, Burger King, Baby Carrots from the beginning. As well as Old Navy and the Supermodelkins, and before that, a few other agencies. I started out with an international business degree and absolutely hated wearing a suit to work every day and doing what I was doing in a Fortune 500 company. So I left that and kind of bounced around doing so many things, much as I'm sure many people in our industry tend to do, until we kind of think, advertising, maybe I can do that. And that's really what happened. So I ended up going back to school to the Creative Circus, graduating from there, and that's how I got into it. So that's it.
Excellent, thank you. So that's almost a perfect lead-in to our first question. So what was your road to the industry like? You started with your education, international business, creative circus. You got to work with somebody really awesome, at least in my humble view, Tiffany Cassell.
Yeah, she is actually one of my mentors. She is an amazing woman, a true powerhouse, very strong, great creative, and really a true, female force in this industry that is predominantly male. But she never lets that get in the way. It's always about standing up for the best idea and making the best execution out of that idea. And she began her career, she just started out in LA actually trying to be an actor, I believe, at her origins. And much like many of the people that are in our industry, we kind of fall into it by accident. I mean, we start our lives trying to be something else that our parents may have wanted us to be, or someone else told us we should be, or we were good at because we could do math, or we were, or we should be a lawyer, and we end up not being happy in that because I think at our core, as creatives, which includes account people and art directors and everyone, we're always kind of trying to find outlets for all of our creative energy to do things, and this is kind of the best industry in which we can pursue all those outlets within an office environment. I mean, we're always working on different products and briefs and always working together, and I think that it's one of the best industries to work in because of all of that.
So how was everyone else's road to travel into this business?
I'll go ahead, Ezra.
No. You started talking first. Thanks.
I had a similar road to Liz. I actually grew up in the industry. My father was in the industry before me, and before him, his brother was in. So I'm in a sense a third generation. But a lot of me didn't want to go in the industry. I wanted to do other things. But then when I realized this is kind of what I was good at, and I enjoyed doing it, and a lot of what Liz said, it is a great creative outlet and has challenges every day that you have to rise to. So my path was somewhat circuitous. I bummed around for a little while and tried to do other things. And my first job, my first copywriting job was actually in-house at a
I think we lost George there.
About 20 ads a day. Bloomingdale's in New York. So you had to write 20 ads a day, basically.
George, sorry,
and,
you got cut off just a little bit. Just repeat the last 10 seconds.
I said, I didn't start, my first copywriting job was not in an agency. It was, I was a kid, and I got a...
It must have been that Brooks Brothers ad.
Yeah, which was a terrific experience because you had to do something, you had to write about 20 ads every day, and you had to learn about production, and you had to learn to put words and pictures down on paper, which is a lot of what we do. And then I just kind of inveigled my way into the industry, and I keep doing it.
Cool. So yeah, I found out about advertising when I was in undergrad in Boulder, and I was a journalism student, and they had this intro to advertising class that was taught by a sort of ex-copywriter from New York, and he was one of the funniest, most engaging professors I'd ever had. I mean, his class was like half learning, half stand-up, and I was really into it. But I kind of knew that while I was a creative person, I really wasn't a creative, right? I mean, and at the time, this is 99, there was, the track was pretty much like if you're studying advertising, you go into an art and copy class, and you go into all these different design classes or writing classes and things like that, which I really sort of didn't really feel like I fit into, and so I I was already thinking that I would want to go back to school and get my MBA at some point. And I had another teacher, another ex-agency guy who said, oh, they'll never hire you at an agency with an MBA. So if you're going to do that, you should, find something else to do. And I thought, okay, great, I'll go be the client, I'll go be the marketing guy, I'll be a brand manager. It's close enough to the same thing, and it still interests me and whatever. And so I kind of went down that path, and I had pretty much gotten out of the mindset of I'm going to go work in an agency someday, gone to business school, and while I was there, I interned at Arnold here in Boston. And they didn't really know what to do with me. They had like 2 MBA interns at the time, and so I spent the summer of 2006, and I was, personally, I was always really into digital stuff, right? I started a blog in 2003 when most people didn't even really know what the word meant, and I was using social media and things like that in the early days to help my sister, who was an aspiring musician, promote her career. And so I kind of got put in this position at Arnold where they said, like, oh, we just want you to write about all these new digital things that you're playing with and tell us how we can use them for our clients. And should the CEO of Royal Caribbean have a blog? Should we put a cruise ship in Second Life? How can we sell cranberries on MySpace, right? All that kind of stuff. And every week I had lunch with the head of a different department, and one week I met with the head of the brand planning department and was like, oh, I talked with her about what she wanted to do, and I said, that's what I want to do. And so after that, I went back to school, I finished my degree, I applied to every agency I could find, only to hear that the sort of common response was just, well, our planning department's really small, and we don't have any system to develop people, so why don't you come in as an account guy, and then we'll move you over. And so that was kind of how I got in at Digitas. I did about a year as an account guy. And then sort of switched into planning. But it was really it was just sort of accidental, right? I mean, I didn't even know that account planning existed when I took the internship at Arnold. I just thought that it was sort of a way back into the agency world and a way to prove my old professor wrong about MBAs and advertising.
Excellent. One of the questions that we have for you all is how important are presentation skills in your day-to-day lives, and how important were they in sort of your development?
Yeah, I think they're very important, but not as important as content. They're not going to overcome or compensate for work that isn't really good. I mean, it helps to be an engaging presenter and storyteller and funny and all that stuff, but you have to have the goods. So, I'm always a little suspicious of people who are too practiced, personally. That's just me. But it is important. I mean, you have to be able to get up in front of a room and kind of control the room, command the room.
Yeah, I agree. You don't need to be like Tony Robbins, like work in the room, like, the most polished guy out there every time you present. But if you can't get up there confidently and look people in the eye and deliver your idea, you're probably going to have some tougher times in the industry. Not to say that everyone I work with is an awesome presenter. They're not. And to George's point, the content is still king. If you can do really good work, you can either get somebody else to help you present it, or you can just, practice it as much as you need to deliver it well enough. But I think that at the end of the day, the work does speak for itself. Because I can't think of how many times you give a presentation, or at least I do, and the clients say, oh, okay, great, now we're going to go back and huddle and think about it and send you our feedback. And it's like, at the end of the day, when they go back to talk amongst themselves, if that work they have in front of them isn't the best, then that's what's really going to stand out, and not how well you delivered a presentation.
Yeah, I have to agree with both of them in terms of client presenting. It definitely always helps to not only be a good presenter, but as you were saying, George, to have the goods to back it up, because otherwise it's just shit. But, what it also comes down to, at least internally, though, is, it's going to not help you move up the ladder if you do not know how to be a presenter, because if you're not able to talk with the client, if you're not able to communicate what you need to communicate, then your creative directors or your account soup or whatever is not going to be able to trust you to, move up from that junior level to mid-level to then a senior level and put their faith in you that you're going to be able, to deliver a presentation and get the job done. So I think that if you have problems or public speaking or being shaky, try to see what you can do to work through them. I actually still, a lot of times in presentations, I have that stupid cliche trick of holding on to a paper clip. And I twist that paper clip in my hand all the time because it does make me still, even after 10 years of doing this, nervous to get up there in front of a room full of people from Microsoft or Nithon or whomever and speak with them. But I do think it's very important to be able to present well. You don't have to be funny. I mean, I have a copywriter. He's funny for me. He does all the scripts and everything. So it's good to have that team of people who can help bring the presentation to life. But everyone does need to play a part and play it well.
I mean, I think the key word in what Liz just said is really trust. I mean, I think you have to find a way to
you keep cutting out, George.
You know what you're doing. That you put that you have good reasons for the choices you've made, and that you're not trying to flim-flam anyone, and that you believe in what you're doing. And you know, I'm a creative director here, and I have an exceedingly tight relationship with my client. I don't really have to be a good presenter with them because all I have to do really is have a conversation with them, because I've seen them, you know, 3 times a week for the last 3 years. So, you know, it's not about being flamboyant, but it is about kind of building trust and coming through and delivering what you say you're going to deliver.
Yeah, which helps. I find that so key, because once you can gain that trust with your client, all of your presentations and meetings, whether it's pre-pro or rough cuts or whatever, it's going to go so much easier when they feel that, you know, they can hear the confidence coming across in your voice that you're not bullshitting with them. You're having an open, honest conversation. And the same goes with your creative directors as you move forward in the industry. They'll want to be able to have that same confidence in you.
From that idea that your clients trust you and you establish that trust to maintain that relationship, there's talk about additional skills that you know, the young graduates that I have here need to possess, and you know, we title them soft skills. So, you know, like your passion, your dedication, etc. Can you speak to the idea of what is that one skill that you really look for when you're looking at somebody's book and you're talking to a potential employee, you know, potential intern? What is it you want to see from them when they're sitting across the table from you?
You know, I've been going first, so I'll just go first if that's okay with Liz and Ezra. You know, I always say, you know, you get to a certain point where you the portfolio, of course, has to be at a certain level where you don't see someone. But what you're really looking for in a personal interview, I think, is a sense of drive, determination, ambition, and kind of, for lack of a better word, a spunk. I think that the person, I like to say, will run through hell in a gasoline suit to do a good ad. And that's kind of the, you know, you posit that the book is good, and then you look for those intangibles of someone willing to go, you know, the extra mile and really.
Oh, we're so
sorry.
sorry.
It's an intangible. It's a soft thing.
Yeah, I guess for me, the thing I look for, it's I'd say it's the interest. I mean, I guess some people would call it passion, but it's the interest in the work. I mean, is this someone who watches commercials still? Is this somebody who can have a conversation with me about a brand or an ad or some creative they've seen, whether it's something, you know, my company has done or someone else has done, and really just show that they're really into it. I mean, I don't know if it's cliche to say I want someone who like kind of lives and breathes this stuff, but it's like, that's really what I want. I don't want someone who just thinks like, oh yeah, this is a job, and I like this better than I would working at a bank, or I like it better than I would being a consultant. Like, so let me do this. I mean, I want someone who's really, really into advertising, and I think that you know, that comes through just in the way you talk about it. And so that to me is the sort of biggest soft skill that I would look for.
Yeah, I have to agree definitely with both you guys. I think it is that very, as George said, very just intangible thing. Book aside, of course we of course interview creatives, so definitely looking for a strong showing from the portfolio. But, you know, one rule is no matter how good your book is, no matter how many student awards you may have won, if you sit down across that table from me and you act like an asshole, there's no way you're getting a job. So we have a lot of really great people in advertising. It's a very small network. Remember that as you're showing your book. Remember that as you get started as juniors, is that we all kind of know each other. I bet the three of us who are on this panel today, if we all Facebooked each other right now, we'd probably have 100 Facebook friends in common. So it's going to stay with you as you meet more people and as you move through the ladder and move through jobs. So when it comes down to any of those interviews, be nice, be open, be honest, be a conversationalist. Something I might be looking in for an art director is, you know who Russ Meyer is. You know, I think of weird things that you may want to talk about that aren't about advertising with this, creative that you're speaking with. We tend to latch on to, more unique activities or hobbies or past lives that you may have done than just what you did in the 2 years of ad school. And that's what makes it interesting to us, because we're like, okay, this person is going to have some great insights about whatever brands, clients we have here at the agency.
So, Mehdi, you had a question that you wanted to pipe in with?
Yeah, I do have actually. Do you want me to ask the one I asked last panel, or do you want to do a different one? I have a different one.
No, it's up to you. I thought you had one to throw in at this point.
Sure. I'd like to definitely, maybe you could bring in the panel on the last point that I brought up. But one of the things I want to know is, how do you get over your fears? Just, like the whole idea of like picking up the phone, calling somebody, you may be afraid of them, going and seeing them. I mean, it's kind of like, you're always like, you're afraid of asking out that girl. I think it's kind of, you get the same kind of sense when you want to go get a job. Like, are they going to like my book? Are they not going to like my book? So how do you get over that?
You know what? You just have to do it. I mean, when I was young, which was a long time ago, we didn't actually have telephones. We mailed letters. No. I used to write down lists that included my mantra, because I was so painfully shy, and I felt like I was such a burden on everyone I was calling that I would have to go through about 10 steps to provoke myself into making a call. But after a while, you have to kind of internalize that stuff and just wind up doing it. And that's the only way to do it, is to do it.
Yeah, I'd say don't try and get rid of the fear. Sort of embrace it. I think if you're not afraid, you're not pushing yourself. If you're comfortable, that's too easy. It's like if it makes you nervous, it means you're on the right path. It means you're doing something right. And I think part of it for me is like I'm very much a realist. I'm very pragmatic. What is this person going to do if I call up and say, I want to talk to you about your company? Are they going to tell me to go fuck myself? No. I mean, they're not, right? Again, I mean, Mehdi, it's like when you called me up and said, hey, you know Heather and I know Heather and she thinks we should meet and talk, and I'm like, okay, great. I may not give you a job right off the first phone call, but, to Liz's point, we all know each other too. It always helps you to have a connection, whether it's through your school, through an internship, through a friend, through whatever. But I'm willing to meet with just about anybody. And again, if you're confident in your work, I think that goes a long way to dealing with it. But I think embrace it. Fear is good. Don't if you're never afraid, then you're not pushing yourself enough.
Yeah, definitely. With both of you guys, I mean, I still wake up every day wondering, are they going to find out today that I'm a fraud? I mean, really, today's the day they're going to know that I really don't know what I'm doing. I think we always have that little, ounce of am I doing this right? Am I just that little fear, that little voice? And I think that it's healthy to have that voice. It's what, as you said, Ezra, it's what keeps us pushing ourselves, challenging ourselves, working with each other, asking questions, working as a team. Because if you don't have that, that's when it's all about yourself and I'm the best and I'm the most confident, and it's not that. And then the second thing is a mantra I've always lived by that comes from my father, is the worst thing they can say is no. If you ask a question or ask something, the worst thing they can say is no. So I apply that every day.
Interesting to the point. That's my line with the way I started changing things, with access through social media. And I mean, George, yes, I mailed my portfolio to Herb Lubellin in order for him to give me an interview while I was at school in Toronto.
Yeah.
The way I was going to get down there was on a Greyhound bus, get off at Port Authority and find my way around. There was no, here's my website, go check my work.
Right.
Here's my PDF portfolio. When the line that I just keep telling my students, what's the worst thing they can say?
Exactly.
I mean, what? So you say no. I mean, I respect that. I mean, obviously there is a reason. But when they say yes, holy shit. I remember that fear of the one I always cite is the day that I asked Alex Boguski, would he host us for lunch when he comes to Toronto? What's the worst thing you could say, right? Mm-hmm. And he says yes, and the next thing you know, we've established a very tight relationship with Crispin in Boulder and in Miami. So, you can build so much by being fearless, and I think
right.
that was this segment is going to end up in a piece of my lecture to the end of time. So thank you both. By the way, George, what was your mantra?
I had about 11 of them, depending on, I have a different neuroses for just about every hour of the day. But ultimately what I realized was, I thought, what was hampering me was I thought I was asking people favors, and what I realized was, you have to turn it around and say you're going to do them a favor because you're a talented person and you can do it. You don't have to, I think to Liz's point, you don't have to be over your fears to pretend that you are. And some of this is just like psyching yourself up into being bold or something being bold or more assertive. You just have to do it.
Yeah, and I just add that to Liz's point about, the worst they can say is no. If they say no, I can't meet, say, okay, well, is there anyone else I can talk to, right? Oh, could you, oh, okay, I get it. You're the head of the planning department. You don't have time to meet with the guy who's just trying to get his foot in the door. Can I talk to one of your junior planners? I'd love to hear how they got into it. I'd love to hear what they have to say about the company. Do you know anyone at this company? I remember when I was younger, pre-LinkedIn and networking was literally you call someone up either from the alumni directory or something like that, and it would, and it was don't get off the phone until you got 3 more names of people that you want to talk to, names and phone numbers, and it's the same thing. It's if I can't help you, or even if I can, find out who else I can know. I think that from your point of view, one of the things I always try and do is I tell people, oh yeah, whatever, add me on LinkedIn and look through my contacts. If there's someone there you want to meet, I'll try and make an introduction. And I think that the worst thing you can do as a applicant or job seeker or whatever is to not follow up on that. I have friends I know who have worked at agencies and clients all over the country, international positions, and they're really well-connected people, and they've offered that up to people, and then the person just never gets back to them. It's really? I took the time out, and so I think there's a little bit of a give and take there too. I think that ask for help and then follow up on it.
And if you can, don't ever be afraid to invest in yourself. And by that I mean try to book that ticket out there to New York and sleep on your friend's couch and go door to door to places if necessary to see them in person. Like Crispin and Boulder, the phone's always busy. I don't know why, but that receptionist phone is always busy or no one picks up. So if you have to go there in person, if you don't have the contacts to get in touch with someone, and that applies to so many things, whether it's a class or some type of creative outlet, or or whatnot. Never be afraid to invest in yourself. It is your future. So if you can, do it. Yeah,
I can think of a few times where it was oh, I'm not going to go out there and just move to LA for the summer and live on my brother's couch and try and get a job or things like that. And it's like I don't have the money. It's going to be so expensive. It's like I don't know where that money went. It probably went to something stupid, right? But now here I am without the job in LA, and it's like in the long run. I mean, obviously, don't go into like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of credit card debt and tell them that I said to. But if it's a matter of buying a bus ticket and doing like couchsurfing.com or Airbnb or something to find a cheap place to stay, get out there and do it, because you won't remember where the $150, $500, whatever dollars went, but you will remember if you never took a chance to go out and try and meet some people.
And you'll remember all the ramen noodles you ate.
Right.
Yeah, nobody wants to live life with the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like my personal mantra is if it is to be, it is up to me. 10 words, 2 letters each, keeps me motivated every day. Speaking of motivated and curious, what motivates you today? What keeps you curious today? When you wake up in the morning, what's the ritual that keeps you interested, curious, passionate about what you're doing?
You know what? I'm blessed. I love what I do, and I actually love work. I like coming into an office. I like a lot of the people I work with. I like having knotty problems to try to solve, and
that's K-N-O-T-T-Y, right?
Yeah, exactly. and that's what's the alternative? No, I enjoy what I do. I really do. I love what I do. Not every day, but 3 days out of 100 at least. Yeah.
Coming into CHIAT every day, that right there already, inspires me. It's an amazing office out here, much like some other offices I've worked in, and the people and what they're doing. There might be someone with a new iPad app, or just the other day, another creative director had a mini arcade game that you put your iPad into, and you can play old school arcade games with the old school controllers and everything. I don't know. There's just it just fields so much curiosities within itself from the people around you. I think that's very inspiring within the office space that we work in every day. So, and also I say every day get out there and look for something new in your neighborhood, new events that are going on. Here in LA we have First Fridays, which all the shops stay open. There's lots of comedy clubs. So make sure that you're constantly fueling your own creativity so that it doesn't get stale, and that not only are you up to date, of course, on the social memes and digital and whatnot, but as well as to just anything that's around you, because you never know where inspiration is going to come from, whether it's from a book that a friend gave you or something you saw, in the park when you took a couple of hours. Like, never be afraid to constantly keep moving.
Yeah, for me, what gets me going in the morning is, as a planner, I really feel like, my job is to help understand and solve problems, right? It's to try and figure out, what's going on, peel back that onion and really see, why is this behavior happening, and how can we change it, and what levers can we pull to bring about a different result. And so I really like that problem solving. It's like trying to, crack a puzzle or something, and every so often you really come up with a really good solution for it. And then the really awesome thing is that once you come up with some idea, you get to sit down with a bunch of creatives and actually make something and actually see something come to life. What starts as a blank Word doc as I'm writing up a creative brief, or just taking notes even earlier than that on a call with a client, trying to understand what's going on. And then, however much time goes by, and I'm seeing comps of a website, or I'm seeing a whole campaign come to life out of some little seed of an idea that I thought might work. And that part of it is really, really exciting to me, and just getting to sort of be a part of that creative process. And the more I work with clients and see kind of what most offices are like and most people's jobs are like day to day, I just get like more and more fired up about how cool and creative it is to come into Sapient and work with the people that we work with. And then I really want to echo what Liz was just saying about getting involved in all those extracurricular activities and stuff. I have one of my old planning directors gave a presentation once on how to be interesting. And one of the number one ways to be interesting is to be interested, and to go out and have hobbies and interests and activities and be into stuff. And it's like, I don't care if you're really into you know, I don't know, I'm looking around my apartment right now, like gardening or, you know, I don't know, I'm like kind of obsessed with North Korea. So like, you know, I think that those are the kinds of things that make people interesting and interesting to talk to, is that people who have these kind of hobbies or interests outside of the work as well.
Yeah, get outside. Don't let yourselves ever get stuck in the office all the time, because otherwise it's just going to eat away at you. Make sure you have something, even if you got to stick it on a schedule every week, that you go out and do, and that you love doing outside of the office. It will help so much.
It's not just even getting outside the office. Just get off the damn computer. Get off the box.
Yeah.
And just
Or get off of Agency Spy. Go read Gizmodo or something.
Don't get off the computer right now.
No. Yeah. Not for another 7 or 11 minutes we have left. So being inspired and how you get inspired, is there one campaign, any one creative piece that just makes you go, wow, and I wish I created that? Like, is there that piece that sticks out in your head?
I think the interesting thing is that I actually get to work with the guy who created mine, and it was I worked with this guy Alan Poppenbach, who was at Arnold. George, you may know him from
yeah.
So he was like the creative lead behind all the Volkswagen Drivers Wanted stuff in like the 90s, and there was an ad for the Volkswagen Cabrio where they're driving at night, and there's a Nick Drake song playing, and they're in the convertible, they're driving up in the woods, and they're just driving along, this beautiful music's playing, and they get to this party. It's like a group of 20-somethings. They get to this party they're going to, and they see all their kids and all their friends are like drinking and hanging out, and they just kind of look at each other, and they turn the car around and just keep driving. And at the time, I had just bought not a Volkswagen Cabrio, but I bought another convertible, and it was the first convertible I'd ever owned, and all I really wanted to do was go out and drive it. And I saw this commercial, and I was like, oh my God, it totally gets me. And you know, that to me has always been my my favorite ad of all time. And you know, I was just talking about the other day because I work with this guy who created it. But yeah, that one to me is something I wish I could have been a part of. It was just such an obviously connected piece. You know, creative is connected to the insight.
You know, mine is also Volkswagen, but I still look at the old Volkswagen ads from the 60s because I think it's the best work that kind of ever happened. And as a copywriter, I enjoy reading that copy and seeing its how well crafted the arguments are and how beautifully written and succinct. And I think there's a lot you can learn from the classics. Also like to look at the work of an English agency called Collett Dixon Pierce, which has done about 40 years of great work, classic kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really love some of going, you know, back years, what Apple did from taking it from such a kind of old, you know, worn out, no one wants to play with it or use it, and how they completely turned it around. Those type of stories really inspire me the most about what it can look like and be like when you have the coming together of beautiful creative, beautiful design, beautiful words, and to create a campaign that kind of changes the way people see a brand, and it doesn't necessarily attack their lives. It actually just becomes part of their lives because they embrace it. And I always find that very successful and a beautiful thing to see when people want to embrace the advertising in their world. You know, some of the Nike work, of course, does the same because it's very powerful and it's very well done. And very influential, something that makes you, you know, emotionally moved.
Unfortunately, we can't sort of flip the camera and have the audience ask you the question directly, but I just got handed a question about success and mistakes. Which do you celebrate more? Like, you know, is there something that you gain from both? You know, in art and copy, George Lowe says, I never learned a fucking thing from my mistakes. And, you know, you get others that'll say, I learned from every one of my mistakes. So what's your take on mistakes and success?
I think you always learn from your mistakes. Hopefully you learn it and it sticks. I know there's some mistakes I've made a couple times, and so sometimes you don't always learn the lesson the first time, but you learn from your successes too, because I don't think going into this stuff, none of us know if it's going to work, right? Or if you do know it's going to work, then again, you're probably not pushing yourself that hard, right? So I think you learn from successes what works as well. I think that a lot of people love to say, oh, you learn so much from your failures. Well, sometimes you do. Sometimes you just find out something didn't work and you don't really know why. And so, I think that as a person, I've probably grown more from failures, because I've sort of learned really hard lessons about, like, oh, I better not do that again or I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. But in terms of the actual, like, the creative of the work, I think I learn a lot from my successes as well.
Nobody else wants in on that one?
No.
Nailed it. Learned an important lesson here today.
George Lois. I guess George Lois summed it up. Whatever.
The mistakes, successes, it's every day, always challenging all over the place. They kind of combine.
Okay. So yesterday, Edward Boches posted it's a really interesting new beta site out called Thunderclap, where individuals can post an idea or a concept that they'd like to get promoted. You set a target of 100 people liking your concept of what you want to sell. And he posted an argument about internships should be paid. This whole idea of interns working for free just doesn't wash. So what are your thoughts on paid internships versus unpaid internships, the value of each? And then, Mehdi, do you want to add on to that question as well?
Yeah, my first internship was unpaid. And I did struggle with it. I was in my last semester or two, whatever, of grad school, and I got the opportunity to go to an unpaid internship at Crispin, actually in Miami, many years ago. And I said, oh, and it really goes back to the don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And I struggled with it. I said, how am I going to live? What am I going to do? I found an apartment for $400 a month. That was my ramen eating days, and eating bagels and PB&Js and power bars out of Crispin's kitchen for 4 months. Basically surviving on their stuff. But it was the best thing I could have ever done. I had an amazing experience, and it taught me so much. So if you believe in it, do it. They do pay their interns now. So it is slightly a double-edged sword, because I do believe that people should pay their interns. I think that you should be paid for your time and your money, your time and your work. And I would be definitely one to advocate for changing that, to make sure that all interns do get paid. I think it's just too hard nowadays to not be paid. Especially if you have student loans and everything else, and the economy with the way it is. But at the time, it was good for me.
Yeah, my first internship was unpaid as well, and I did that, and I worked like 40 hours a week at a circuit selling appliances. So I know about the struggling for it, and it makes you want it more, it makes you appreciate it more, and all that kind of stuff. And there's something about, like, if the person isn't willing to work for a few months and eat ramen noodles and make no money, like, how badly do they really want it, But at the same time, yeah, I was always taught from an early age that, there's value in a hard-earned dollar and all that kind of stuff, and then you should get paid what you're worth. And, I think that I would hate to miss out on someone who's got a lot of promise or a lot of talent because they just said, I can't make the financial investment, and I've got student loans, I've got to eat, I've got apartments, I've got, whatever it is. I would hate to think that person went and worked at Circuit City instead of the ad agency because they couldn't get paid, and that would be a real shame. I think that you don't need to pay people a lot. In Manhattan, you need to pay them more than in Denver or something. But if you can pay a student, I don't know, $10 an hour, they can scrape by. Like, give them enough to buy the ramen noodles, and then let them really kind of show you how much they want it.
It's definitely worth it now. They should be paid.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to pay people. It's
We're going to have to ask George to start again.
It's not egalitarian not to pay people. I think you have to pay people a living wage, and that's spoken as a father of two daughters. Paid.
George, you got cut off where you started to talk about your daughters.
No,
And it doesn't get any better. Damn. Hopefully we'll get George back. Sorry, George, we lost you one more time. Do you want to just try it one more time from after your daughters?
Oh.
No. Well, we know that George believes in everyone being paid for their internship.
I would add, too, that the flip side to that is I believe that interns should be paid, but that means I'm going to work them really hard. My intern right now stays later than I do most days. That's why I'm at home today doing this, and I don't know where she is. Maybe she's still at the office. But it gives me the license to make sure that I'm really, really pushing up too. Whereas if they weren't being paid, I'd feel worse about it.
Yeah, I mean, really, it is in today's world and whatnot. I think every intern should be paid. And if you feel like you can do an unpaid internship, if you feel like it's worth it and you're able to do it, go ahead. I mean, I did it. But I agree with George that interns should be paid.
Excellent.
Now, just to add to that, Edward Bush has posted up a link. I'm going to tweet this now, and I'll send an email to you guys as well, so you have it. He's basically starting a campaign to get the message out there so that there's no ad agency that does not pay. So I'll post that link for the viewers and yourselves to check out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. So we're going to wrap up with one question, and it's not an easy question. It's about the future, which I guess we can probably, if we could all predict it, we'd be doing something else. The idea of where is our industry headed, and what do you think is the biggest challenge it faces? And if you could challenge the industry to do something different, what is that challenge? So, what do you see its challenges in the future? And if you could challenge it to do something to change, what is your challenge to the industry?
In a lot of ways, I think the predictions of the apocalypse are a little exaggerated. I think the main problem clients have is the same problem they've had since the beginning of time. They don't really know what business they're in, and they don't know what they sell. And if they do know what they sell, they don't know how to communicate it to the public clearly. And that, to me, is the most persistent problem in advertising today, regardless of medium. I see it every night when I watch TV of Samsung wanting to be Apple, and they're never going to be Apple. It's kind of the way things are. I know I've worked on some of the biggest brands in the world, and 9 times out of 10, they don't really understand what business they're in. They don't really understand what they're selling. So people who can come in and clarify ideas and put meaning behind brands are going to be valuable. It doesn't really depend on the medium. It's the message is important too. It's not just the medium. So to answer your question, I think we're going to keep going through this thing where we have specialists who can do this, that, and the other thing, and with delving into new technology, but we are in danger of losing sight on the bigger issues that marketing communications have to solve, which is a clarity of purpose and organizing thoughts.
Is that kind of like we're spending too much time on how rather than why? We've all become kind of infatuated with things that I think are distractions rather than the main purpose of marketing communications. And whether that's how many Facebook likes you have, or how many clicks you get, or where you go from a banner ad, I think is less important than a single unifying brand idea. It's a little heresy coming from a digital agency, but that's all right. We lost Ezra, but go ahead, Liz.
Oh, no, please. Ezra, do you want to? Oh, did we lose one?
We lost him.
Oh.
For a sec, he's going to come. Oh, here he's. Well, there we are. Now you're back.
Yeah, I had to reset my modem for a second there.
So who wants to?
Oh, I'm up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So I guess the biggest sort of problem I see the industry facing going forward is separating a lot of the sort of junk that's out there from the real job that we have to do, which is solve business problems. I think there's a lot of people out there basically selling snake oil on like, oh, we'll do this whole thing with these videos, we'll put them up, we'll get 50 million people are going to like it, they're going to tweet it, they're going to Facebook it, they're going to send it to all their friends. It's like, okay, and how many more units of toothpaste am I going to sell? And the truth of the matter is we're in a creative profession, and we get to play around and do really cool stuff and use all these new technologies and do a lot of fun stuff, but at the end of the day, if we don't solve whatever our client's business problem is, then we're not doing our job. And I think that a lot of times people forget that because we use art and we use technology, we use all these things to solve the problem, but at the end of the day, we need to solve that business problem the same as if we were, doctors delivering some sort of treatment or something like that. It's like we need to, that's what I see as the biggest one. And so the challenge to the industry is to keep the focus on that, because clients lose focus of it all the time. They get obsessed with these shiny new things. When I worked on Procter & Gamble, we used to get calls from our clients. They'd say, I need 1 million fans on Facebook. So, well, why? What are you going to do with them when you get them? They're like, brand manager down the hall, he says he has 900,000. I need 1 million. And that was their rationale. 1 million is more than 900,000, and so let's do that. And you'd say, okay, well, let's just run an insane amount of ads. Give me $1 million worth of media, and we'll just bombard everyone on Facebook with ads for Tide, and then they'll all like you, and that'll be that. And they'd be like, wow, we need an ROI of 1.5 on every dollar we spend on media. And it's like, well, those two things don't really mesh, So I think that people need to kind of realize what all these shiny new items are, and kind of see through all the bullshit, if you will. Get back to the message of you have to engage with people in a way that delivers results, that sells products or changes behaviors or changes attitudes or something like that, because otherwise you're just swirling or talking to yourself or whatever you want to call it.
Media aside, whether we're going digital or TV, or how many hours per day people spend on Facebook compared to Twitter, compared to watching commercials, because that is a whole other conversation. I think that just as a challenge every day for the past 20 years and for the next 20 years is to always focus less on shiny objects and more on making sure that those great ideas don't end up in the trash. And how can we do that and execute them well? It's just a challenge to ourselves every day to make sure that people get the best from us, because even though it's advertising and sometimes people think of us as rotten as lawyers or some type of stigma, we can do amazing and beautiful things that people love and get an emotional reaction from, and that's my 2 cents as a challenge to our industry. Just keep doing what we think is great work.
Awesome. Thank you. So is there anything each of you would like to sort of plug before we say good afternoon for what was an outstanding session? George, I definitely plug your blog, AdAged. I love it. I've told you already before we got started officially, and just keep doing what you're doing. But anything you want to add to that? You're going to convert it into a book one day? I'm getting the stare down. Okay.
Oh, you know what?
Oh.
I only got half that. I just do it because I'm obsessive compulsive. And I feel the need to write every day.
Excellent.
I think what we've each been saying is I think I got cut off.
Profound.
Yeah, you did, but the smile was priceless. Thank you, George.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything each of you want to promote or anything that you have? The Twitter feed?
I mean, I've already seen on my phone a bunch of you guys have started following me on Twitter, so I'm not going to self-promote anymore. I'm going to promote the NBC show Community because I think it's one of the funniest shows on TV, and if not enough people watch it, it's going to get canceled. So watch Community, buy the DVD. Yeah, that's what I'm going to promote.
Right on.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, I don't tweet that much.
Okay, that's cool.
But if anyone wants to reach out, my email is, Google plus me. Reach out to me at any time. I'm always happy to chat. I'm always happy to throw out connections to any of you guys. So please don't hesitate. I won't say no.
I'll ask you to send my love to Rob Schwartz for me.
I will.
I would appreciate that. George, I hope that our schedules will connect in October when we're down for Advertising Week, and we can visit you live at RGA.
Great.
We had a great time a couple of years with you, so a couple of years ago. So hope to do that again.
Hopefully, I won't be in Minnesota at the time.
We'll try and connect it.
Okay, great.
And so everybody, thank you very, very much, and let's do this again one day.
And nice meeting you all.
Thanks so much for organizing it.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Sorry.
How do I hang this thing up?
I don't know. Oh, wait, there's an exit.